Nintendo really is for everyone, now more than ever. Over the last few years, Nintendo has opened its arms to the LGBTQ+ community, with good faith inclusivity and diversity. That just makes someone like me more hopeful for the future. As a member of the community myself, I think it's important to bring some positive attention to it all. So let's go through some recent examples of Nintendo's inclusivity, in celebration of Pride Month. Some are more direct and obvious than others, but the most direct one is also the most recent, and that's Vivian from Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, a foe-turned ally of Mario who leaves her villainous sisters due to their abusive behavior. Vivian is a transgender woman, and it couldn't be more clear from her dialogue. This detail was in the original Japanese version of the game 20 years ago, but was omitted from localizations, including in English, instead making Vivian out to be a girl bullied for being ugly. Well, the remake sets the record straight, and makes it pretty clear. Vivian is trans, and in Mario's group, she's accepted, something she's wanted for a very long time, so much so that she leaves her family, and evil, to travel with Mario because of his kindness and acceptance. Many players may see this all play out and go, "Aw, that's nice," but then to others, it means more. Much more. To trans gamers, this is their chance to see themselves in a character. Leaving one's family and finding acceptance from kind friends is a situation the LGBTQ+ community knows all too well. And to see representation like this in a Mario game, making it very visible, is huge. A less direct and obvious, yet still widely celebrated inclusion, is the pairing of Pearl and Marina. And I emphasize their pairing. While never explicitly stated in either Splatoon 2 or 3, Pearl and Marina are heavily implied to be a couple, so much so that a lot of the Splatoon community celebrates them as such. Many fans theorize that these two had feelings for each other way back in Splatoon 2, as they seem to be closer than just simply bandmates. They live together and hold each other in incredibly high regard. Even the final Splatfest had them getting emotional over their time together. Sure, this could just be girls being besties, but it was pushed further in Splatoon 3's Side Order DLC. Here, Pearl and Marina come across more like they're constantly flirting with each other. Reading Marina's diary reveals even more about how much she admires Pearl, practically admitting to a full-on crush on her. But perhaps the biggest clue to their relationship here is this conversation in the elevator, where Ott talks to Pearl, and Marina takes it as hitting on her before trailing off. These girls even have a bunch of pictures of each other in both games. Okay, while it may not be directly confirmed that Pearl and Marina are a couple, consider the fact that Nintendo very likely knew how the pair were interpreted come the end of Splatoon 2. And all of these years later in the Splatoon 3 DLC, what did they do? Well, they certainly didn't do anything to change that perception, that's for sure. If anything, it's like they leaned even more into it, albeit still not outright confirming it. Still, seeing just how much Pearl and Marina care for each other is adorable to see. But let's shift gears to a different pair of characters. Just not in the relationship sense. There have been a couple of characters in recent games that are actually non-binary. The first to talk about is Ott in Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC. They're present throughout the game alongside Pearl and Marina, and the game makes a subtle yet consistent point for Ott to use they/them pronouns. They are only ever referred to as such, and it's a small detail that means a lot to me as a non-binary individual. The second character is A, from Xenoblade Chronicles 3's Future Redeemed DLC, released last year. Their identity and pronouns are never actually given in-game, as they're always simply referred to directly by name. But one scene in particular is very important to their identity. To give a too long didn't play of a long, complex story spread across several games, A is an entity split off from a different being called Ontos, and Ontos is part of a trio with Logos and Numa.
Logos was the male persona, and Numa the female one. Ontos was meant to stand somewhere between.
As described by Rex, Logos was male, Numa was female, and Ontos, and by extension A, is somewhere in between. This directly lines up with the fact that gender identity is a spectrum, and to hear this kind of language in a Nintendo game feels really progressive, and is great to see. Another area Nintendo has generally been better about in recent years is in player customization. Several recent games allow players to dress and customize their looks with little to no restrictions based on choosing a gender. Splatoon 3, for example, is more about choosing a style, though there are limitations based on playing as an Inkling or Octoling, but that's a bit different. Animal Crossing New Horizons has the player choose a body type for customization, but allows them to wear any clothing, and generally customize their villager however they want. Neither of these games make players conform to any gender, and it's refreshing in games like these. And the language behind these decisions, as noted by the developers in interviews, is to keep players thinking about their own individuality. Even Pokemon took similar steps in Scarlet and Violet. While the player still chooses a gender, and though the clothing options are more limited to different school uniforms, there are a lot of customization options that let players express themselves in different ways, with no need to conform to their chosen gender. While some could be better, these instances of player customization are definitely a great step towards more inclusivity and diversity. These are just some specific recent examples, but there have been even more in this era of Nintendo. Some are just as direct as the ones discussed here, while others are more vague and implied. But however you look at it, it's clear that Nintendo has taken a stance towards good faith inclusivity, and I can only hope that it continues into future games as well. It's not just in series you could consider more niche. Some of these play a prominent role in some pretty big games, like Vivian in Paper Mario, and it makes me hopeful to see even more representation and inclusivity in future Nintendo games. On a personal level, seeing representation like this is something I've wanted for years. To be able to see a part of myself in some of these characters, and for others to be able to do the same. The explicitly non-binary characters, for example, feel like a testament to this new era that we're in. And at a time when there's a lot of toxicity on the internet around even subtle representation, every little bit counts. And I'm happy to say that Nintendo is doing more than just that little bit. Sure, there could always be more, and I really hope there will be. But taking the time to reflect and look back at the past few years compared to even 10 years ago, a lot has really changed. For the better. But with that, that'll do it for this little Pride Month feature. I've been wanting to do one of these for several years, and I'm happy I've gotten to put together this video celebrating Nintendo's recent trend of including LGBTQ+ representation. It's an important topic to me, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for plenty more on Nintendo. Until next time, farewell everyone.